Welcome back to Growing Guelph. I'm your host, Jordan Sloggett. Today I'm joined by Stephanie Scapinello of Strawberry Sunshine, a local maker and community builder who turned her pandemic discovery into a full-time passion. We talk about her journey from finance to handmade retail, the family and community sport that shaped her path, and how she's creating space for other artisans here in Guelph. Before I wrap up this introduction, if you enjoy Growing Guelph and want to help support local storytelling, I've launched a Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early, ad-free episodes, you can submit questions for guests, and help shape future topics. Totally optional, but it always helps keep this project going and growing. You can check it out at patreon.com/growingguelph, and I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening and supporting independent local media. And now for my conversation with Stephanie from Strawberry Sunshine. They've all started pretty casually, mid-conversation. If you're good to go, I'm good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Let's do it.
Today on Growing Guelph, I am joined by Stephanie Scapinello, and we are at her, is it a store? Do you call this a store?
Candle store, yes.
Yeah, we're at your candle store, Strawberry Sunshine. What's the address of it?
15 Surrey Street, West in Guelph.
Yeah, we're just, I'd say like it's just south of downtown, I
Yeah,
guess.
when I describe it, I explain to people there's a McDonald's at the main intersection there, and right beside it there's a King Cleaners, and I'm in the plaza with the King Cleaners.
Okay, and there's the vet. I know this vet because I haven't taken my cats to it in a little bit because they've been good, but this is officially my cat's veterinarian right next door.
Yeah.
So you have all sorts of fun shops and whatnot that you share the location with?
Yes, exactly, yeah. In the space, it's a shared space actually. We have an esthetician in here, and then we also have massage therapists in here as well. Oh,
cool.
Yes.
And how long have you been in this location?
So I came in and renovated last August and officially opened up the store in September last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're coming up to a year now.
Well, something we should do right off the bat is to thank a, not even a mutual friend because it's someone I don't know, but someone that you know.
Yeah.
What was their name again?
Sean Manzi. Yeah, he's Concession 11. If you're looking on Instagram for him, he actually did some of the shelving and the woodwork within the store here as well for me. Yeah, he custom built the
done.
I
like it's all built with like, are those hinges that it looks like the whole thing can like shift and move?
Yeah, he did it all by hand. We stained them all. He's extremely creative, and I wanted something unique and very different looking for the store. So he was fantastic at working with me to build the shelving.
Awesome. Well, Sean, thanks for making the suggestion. And like I remind viewers in every episode, if you have anyone that you think I should speak to, feel free to reach out at growingguelph@gmail.com. So, Stephanie, I guess to kick things off, can you share the story behind Strawberry Sunshine?
Sure.
What sparked the idea and what kind of keeps you passionate about it?
So this is actually something I always start my workshops with, just so people have an idea of, like, even for them, why this came about. I have 3 little girls, and I actually call them my little sunshines. And my youngest daughter has strawberry blonde hair, so she is essentially my Strawberry Sunshine, and that's where the name of it came from. When I opened up the store, I wanted to expand it a little bit more, just to be able to give people an idea, obviously, of what what was part of the store. So I went with Strawberry Sunshine Candles and Beyond. So when you're driving by and you see that, you know what the idea of the store is. Candles, for me, I've been making them for about 4 or 5 years now, and they started out by doing a thank you gift for my middle daughter's first communion. So when my oldest daughter had her first communion, I had candles made as thank yous for family and friends for coming. And so when my middle daughter was having her first communion, I reached out to that same girl, but she was no longer doing it. So I started playing around with it and figuring it all out, and I absolutely love the process of it. So it's funny because I've never considered myself to be a crafty, sort of artsy person at all. Like, I can't even draw a stick person straight. So to be able to create something that's crafty like that was just so cool to see the finished product. And every time still when I light a candle and I'm burning it, I just look at it and think, I made that. Like, that's actually really neat. Now I have a whole store full of candles. So it's been a pretty wild process.
Oh, that's cool. Well, so you might not describe yourself as being crafty, I guess, but clearly there's something in you that there's a drive, maybe an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I've always wanted to just sort of branch out and just do something on my own.
Yeah.
Especially having 3 little girls, I always want them to be able to express who they are and to just really learn how to take care of themselves too. I find that, that's obviously really important. And when they come into the store and they get to come around and see like what we have here, and they like the play store, and they go to school and they tell all their friends and everything, my mommy owns a store. And it's just such a sense of pride when I see that coming from them, because they get so excited about it, and I try to incorporate them into it as much as possible. So especially when I was making a lot of the candles from home, they would put the labels on for me, or they would help trim the wicks, and they'd put the lids on. And now my oldest one, who's almost 14, she's starting to come to workshops with me and just help out with the process, because some of the workshops can get quite big. There's quite a few people coming to them. So just, getting her out there and just learning how to be in front of people and how to work and, just that sort of lifestyle. But she's just so proud of herself to just, go to work with mom and at the end of the day, just say like, yeah, I had a job to do today, sort of thing, right? So it's great to see that growth in her.
And what invaluable skills, like not only the practical skills of getting to experience that at a young age, but being able to see a parental figure tackle all of the, the 1,000 problems that you must have been able to, or must have been forced to solve from the inception of this place to opening it up.
Yeah, even just the confidence in her, just to see her like transform from, the way that she talks to her friends to talking to an adult and having to kind of be a little bit more mature about it, right? Like she knows she's got to put a professional hat on when we're going to work, and, she's got to be very, very open and very like kind with people. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not just your friends you're joking around with. So
there's a certain patience in that can be well earned lessons of maturity.
Yeah.
So you said this was like 4 or 5 years ago. That sounds a little to me like it might have been not directly a pandemic thing, but was it?
You know what? It's funny because it was during COVID when I started making candles, because I had time at that point to kind of dabble around with it. As much as, when I do my workshops, I've really simplified it for everybody and made it a really fun experience. But for me, learning how to make candles, there's so many different scenarios you have to play with the type of oils you're going to use and the kind of wax you want to use, learning about different wicks, right? You never think all those things come into play, but like, depending on the size of the jar that you're using, you have to use a different size of wick and just make sure that they're melting properly. And I love teaching people about like proper candle care, just so that they're really enjoying their candle to the fullest. Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm a newbie to candles. I've burned
Most
candles. Most
people are.
I'm aware of the, at least the beginner concept of, what do they call it? Like candles have a memory.
Yes.
And if you, the first time you burn it, you have to burn it so that all the wax, at least to the edges, melts.
I'm so impressed you know that. That's so good.
Yeah, you get those pitting. I've also done the thing if you try to rescue a candle that's done that, and then you're trying to like carve out the wax. But it gets messy very quickly.
Yes.
Or wrapping the tin foil around to keep the heat in to let it melt a little bit closer to the edge. I guess these are all fun things that candle appreciators end up having to deal with.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, because when I do my workshops, I actually go through a lot of candle care with everyone, but I do it in a very engaging way, just so that they don't feel overwhelmed by learning all of this, but it's just in a fun, very friendly explanation. And they actually they love it. Like it's funny. I said, you're going to go home and somebody's going to ask you about a candle and you're going to throw out candle knowledge. They're going to be like, how do you know that? And, it's going to be such a great conversation starter for you.
And all your candle knowledge, was all of it like trial and error, or did you have a lot of did you do some deep dive research and books and articles?
No,
online
I did. I did all kinds of research. There was quite a few books actually that I read. A lot of, you would be amazed at how much you can learn from YouTube now, right? And just social media in general. And I mean, I have a background in finance, and that helped me in terms of running and owning a business. But you don't go to school to learn how to make candles. Do you know what I mean? So it's you really need that sort of like those life lessons, and those are things that you kind of have to teach yourself. You can't really learn them from someone else.
It's interesting that I don't want to say we're post-pandemic, because the pandemic's still, history will tell us when we're fully post-pandemic, but in the 5 years since the pandemic, we're really seeing the seeds that were planted because people had time, that they were at home, that they were spending just time like reevaluating their life, what they wanted to do, how they wanted to spend their time. And now 5 years later, we're seeing like those things have gone from just like ideas to like full-fledged places of business and things like that. And I think more than one of the people I've talked to on this podcast, the reason I'm talking to them is something that was inspired by that pandemic time. Maybe tell me a little bit about yourself in terms of, so you worked in finance before. Were you always interested in maybe pivoting to something else altogether, or to open up like a shop of your own and things like that?
Well, it's funny, like being in the financial industry for 15 years, I kind of just got tired of it, and I knew that I needed a change. As a kid, I would always do funny little games with my sister. We'd play store in my parents' basement, or we would play office or something like that. So the idea of a store never really hit me until a little bit later, but it was just always something that I enjoyed. And even now when I'm in the store and somebody comes in to buy something and I'm wrapping up their candle and I hand it to them, I literally just feel like it's a game still, which is hilarious because like it's not like it's actually like my life. But that's the best part about owning your own business, is that it doesn't feel like work. Like it's such a joy to come in every day when I come into the store and I look around and I'm like, sometimes it's overwhelming. Like I'm like, I built this. Like, you have this idea and you know kind of what you want it to look like, but it really wasn't until we started renovating on going, okay, I've got all this furniture. I still don't know how I'm setting everything up. And you just come in and you just do it. And you don't always have to have everything planned out like that. You just have to have your end vision set, and it just, that path just, what it takes you on, it's amazing. Like it'll just lead you down that way, and you look afterwards and go, oh my goodness, like this is reality. This is cool.
And no doubt you were set up for some sort of foundation of success given that finance background, because for a lot of small business owners and that they have the passion and they're confident about the craft or the the reason for the business is like why it's opening up, but some of that the money sense of it all, like making that work in the back end might be one of the trickier elements to make work.
Yeah.
But if you had a bit of that foundation.
Yeah, like I knew, there was going to be things that I would have to invest in, and I'd have an idea of how much it was going to cost. And there's all those other little variables, like even just dealing with the city. You need depending on what type of business you're opening, you might need a business license, but you're going to need insurance, and, just figuring out what your bottom line is going to be and kind of how much you need to make to cover all those expenses and stuff. Like that was very beneficial to be able to kind of play with those numbers and feel comfortable doing it.
And like move confidently through what all those numbers mean and the ramifications if something didn't go wrong and how long you could,
and just knowing like what your limit is. So when you really do need help, I mean, Kendra Howe was my realtor, and she was absolutely amazing with every question that I had, because as much as I understand so many things, there's obviously so much more that she understands on the realtor side of it. And that's when you kind of have to surrender and say, okay, I'm going to leave this to you because you're the expert on this, right? So know what your limit is, and at that point leave it into a capable hands of somebody that really has the expertise on that.
I think I'm saying this as someone who's never started their own business in that way, but I think something you can kind of see a lot of small businesses struggle with is I don't know if it's like being in an addiction to being like the master of the entire domain, but there's elements that they're clearly, it's not their strong suit, but they struggle giving up those certain elements, or knowing like, okay, they might be an expert in selling books or buying rare books or things like that, but then how do you, like, are you an expert in marketing? Are you an expert in crafting the sign for your store? And like all these different things that, you can draw from like a wider pool of experts to do. So tell me about your connection to the city of Guelph. Did you grow up here? Did you,
I did, actually. I was born and raised in Guelph. My parents are still in the same house, my little childhood house, that, I grew up in. And I've just always loved it here. I actually never moved away for college. I stayed at home. And even when I was working in Toronto, I was commuting. I was taking the train from Milton and getting into the city. But I just loved it here. It was always nice after like a long, busy day to just come back and just feel like you're home. Yeah. Right. And, just making the decision to raise our kids here was like it just made sense. Both of our families were here. Like, we didn't want to be too far from anybody. You know, it's very important that we kind of kept that same atmosphere, and we wanted them to grow up the same way that we kind of did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but the idea that Guelph, like the common story of people like myself come here for school and then the city pulls them in.
Yeah.
And the way you just described Guelph as like, you know, you're commuting home and you feel like you're back in like your safe place. Like it's a sanctuary.
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know. There's something about the fact that we're close enough to Toronto. Like it's like an hour plus commute, but we're surrounded by farmland. But we feel like a real city.
Yeah,
You described it in some way.
It's this big city with a small town feel.
Yeah.
Like you're really just an hour from everything that you need, sort of thing. Like you can go to Toronto and watch a big game, or you can drive to Stratford and watch a show, and like literally everything's just an hour from you. Or head to the beach, and it's really not even that far, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, being able to do those things on a day trip and still just want to come home, and like you're able to do that, and it's just a nice feeling going to bed in your own bed at night.
Yeah, I know something I've really enjoyed in the last like 5 years of moving back to Guelph is I do quite a bit of camping on Lake Huron. So west, like, you know, it's like 2.5 hours west of us here, but what a difference of just leaving Guelph and then driving west through like the most scenic countrysides of Ontario to get to Lake Huron is a world of difference from if you live in, like when I lived in Toronto and you have to go camping and it's like, okay, load up the whole car and then sit in traffic for an hour, and then it's just a very different draining kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So what role has the Guelph community played in shaping this business, and do you see yourself as giving back to the community through your work?
Yeah, so always being here, you kind of think to yourself sometimes, like, Guelph has given me so much, what can I do for them? You know, and it's just a matter of getting to the point in your life where you really just need to try to find your purpose and, you know, what it is what gift you have to share with other people. The biggest thing for me in giving back is actually, it's not just like the candles that I make and offer to people. It's probably the workshops, because at that point it's, you know, people are coming in for an experience, and they're coming in for, you know, a couple hours of just something fun and social, and just to kind of get away from things and just to be able to experience a new craft, but in a very fun, lighthearted way. The other thing too is the fundraising that I do. And I think that has been very rewarding, more than I thought it would be. Probably because whenever a candle is sold, $5 from that candle is going to go back into the group or the organization. And just knowing that I'm able to help, you know, a sports team buy new equipment. Or recently I just worked with the Nightingale Center, and that group there helps families that are grieving the loss of a loved one, right? So we did part of the event that they just did, part of the candle sales went towards them. And I would never have the opportunity to do that without having this platform to be able to share that with people.
Is that something that you envisioned as being like a core part of what Strawberry Sunshine was going to be, like in the fundraising and the workshops?
It's funny because when I started out and just made one candle, you never knew the opportunities that laid in front of you. Like literally, it's just like you make one candle as a thank you gift, and all of a sudden it's turned into this full-blown business like 5 years later, and you're going, holy cow, how did that happen? Like how is this even possible? But sometimes you don't need to know all those little things, right? You just kind of get started, and the more that I do this, I'm finding that there's just more opportunities there that I'm able to help people and like work with other people, or just meet other people in the community that I didn't know before. And it's really cool to be able to connect with that.
Do you think there's something like, I don't know if it's symbolic or just something about the idea that you're dealing in candles, like quite ancient technology that takes us back to, you know, cutting away some of like the digital parts of our everyday lives and the social media and things like that, and you're focused in on a very tangible, tactile, like, you know, a lot of people talk about sense, the sense of smell and its connection to memory and things like that. And it's obvious that when you're playing in that sense space, that it can it can be very personal for people.
Well, it definitely can, and the thing I like most about my business is that I'm connecting people. Like, I do have a website, and you're able to order on there, but the majority of what I do is like bringing community together, like those workshops that I either do myself, or I actually offer other workshops within the store that other local artisans. It kind of just gives them a platform to be able to share their art with other people. So,
that's cool.
You know, we've built terrarium gardens, or we've built Turkish lamps. So it's not necessarily something that I am familiar with and I know how to make, but you know, those artisans wouldn't necessarily have a place to be able to share that art with other people. So I bring them in, I'll do the advertising for them, and then when that group comes in to be able to do that workshop, it's something different for them. So, you know, maybe you're not a candle lover, but like you love being out in the garden, and you know, it's the cold weather though, and you still want to get your hands, you know, on those plants and make something really cute like that, and they have the opportunity to do it. So it's been wonderful to make those connections with people that I had no idea who they were before, you know, and now like I have the chance to bring those groups together and to experience something, and it's great because there's actually a lot of workshops where people come in and they come in and they sign up on their own, and they don't know anybody coming in, but they're okay with that because they want to meet other people. And I've seen friendships develop just from that, and it's amazing.
It's something, or speaks to the character of Guelph as a city, that there's so many people with that state of mind.
Oh, for
with
sure.
the idea of like, hey, I can go to a concert, I can go to a show, I can go to a workshop and just make friends there, because they'll know that they'll meet so many like-minded people.
Well, I'm finding, and I know a lot of people have said this over the last 5 years, let's say, like Guelph really has changed quite a bit, and you know, that's pretty apparent. But when you still have the opportunity to give people a sense of community, even if it's just in a small way and it's just for a few hours, it just reminds you of like the good people that are in the city, and to surround yourself with those people, you know, and just to kind of get away from all of it. But just remember like what's so wonderful about Guelph, like what's so wonderful about being here.
So I'm interested to hear your opinion as someone who's been a lifelong Guelphite. When you say the city's changed, and I'm more just kind of asking for my own curiosity, because, you know, I experienced like I want to say 4 years of the city as being a student, but when you're a student, like your head is like very much just in school. So, you know, I couldn't have told you who the mayor was when I was a student. I spent the whole first year just on campus, and then the years after just like in the neighborhood around the mall that I lived in and on campus. So I you know, living back in Guelph now, and especially with doing this podcast, learning and like connecting with so many people who have a history with the city. How do you see that the city's changed, like, in your lifetime? And it can be both good or bad. Like, it can be...
Yeah, no, there are, like, good and bad ways about it. I mean, like, let's just say, for instance, for driving right now, like, people are way more aggressive. And, like, they just seem like people are just hurting inside. Just in general, people are just hurt. Like, people are just, they're struggling, whether it's like finances, whether it's like mental health issues. It's just, people just need to be loved.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what it comes down to. And when you can kind of just offer them a little sanctuary, even if they just come into the store to shop. I mean, I've heard time and time again about how just comforting and warm the store is, just to spend those few minutes just shopping for something in here and just looking for something that, you know, you're either getting for yourself or you're picking up for somebody else. I just want people to remember that they're loved, right? And it's very hard to feel that right now, but it's very important for people to know that they're thought of and they're important too. They need to be here, and we want them here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about I talked about this quite a few times, but part of the inspiration for starting this podcast was to try to be more connected on like a human individual level, especially with people who are doing things locally, because, you know, if you watch TV, if you're on social media, it's so easy to just get riled up with the emotions, good and bad, and everything that's happening on just these big human scales that are just bigger than we have any way of like actually dealing with, like bigger than our minds were in any way evolved to to deal with. There's just too many people, too much potential tragedy in the world, and not enough time spent focusing on the good.
Yeah.
And when you connect in community, you really do get a sense of like, oh, like the world is maybe a scary place in some ways, but the vast majority of people out there are just, like you said, looking for connection, looking for friendship, looking to...
They just want to know they belong again.
Yeah.
It's very isolating, right? And just knowing that, like, you know, you can sign up for something and you can be alone doing that, but when you get here, like, people are welcoming you and they want to meet you. They want to have a great evening and get to know you as well as doing something fun.
Yeah, and so many of our modern technology ways, like I said, with social media, it's you're taking in so much about what other people are doing, but it can just make you feel really lonely and isolated in other ways, right? Where you're not actually sharing and connecting, and you're not just sharing physical space with people and learning to do something is so key.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say, like, with friendships and things like that, like, doing unique things with your friends is a really good way of making, like, core memories, which is partially why it's easy to make friends when you're, you know, in school or at a workplace or something like that, because you're connected through these shared bonds of, like,
you've got
having to do things.
Yeah, you know, you've got something in common with them, right?
Yeah. And then when you're, like, a teenager, it feels like your friendships are so core because you're growing up together, and everything you do, if it's, like, you know, learning to drive or going to a concert for the first time or these big key memories, you're forging those memories with people. And then you become an adult and, you know, work takes over your life and stuff like that. And it's easy to just spend your time with friends, like doing catch-up hangouts where you maybe you're sharing a glass of wine or something like that, but you're very much just trying to sit down and say, like, okay, you know, you share for your about life for 20 minutes and I'll do mine, and then you're kind of just throwing things back and forth at each other. But doing something like one of your workshops would be such a key way, because, like, you know, it's probably going to be a unique experience for a lot of people. You'll be in a unique space. You'll get some of that, like I was saying, with people tying the sense of smell to memory. It's nice recording this in this space because it smells very nice in here. Yeah, like it's a very pleasant, calming kind of. Like, I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah.
I was kind of in a rush when I came in here, just in like a, you know.
You're way calmer now.
Yeah, you probably just see it in my face, right? Where, like, just
more relaxed.
getting here and being kind of in a like a hurry. And then you sit down and you just kind of let some of the relaxation of it all wash over you. And well, so kudos to you for building a space like that. Thank you.
And it's you know, when people come to the workshops, it's a huge compliment when I see them return. Like, I've had many people that have signed up for multiple workshops, and it's funny. Like, you tell them, you know, it's going to be the same, and they're like, yeah, but, like, it's just so fun. Like, we know that we're going to make candles again, but we get to make new ones. We get to choose a different scent, right? So as much as it's the same, it's still actually really cool to be part of it again. And I've had people that have come to 5 or 6 workshops, you know, and it's just, you see them come back, and it just, no pun intended, it lights me up. Like, it's just, it's so cool.
Point, like, if people just wanted the knowledge of how to make a candle, they could, you know.
Yes.
There's YouTube videos. I'm sure you can go to the Guelph Library and get like 10 different books about candle making if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
So the experience that people are coming here for is that connected group, you know, working through things, just, and doing something that's, again, so physical and tactile and not screen based.
Yes.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
I think our minds just really need that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people discover, like, late in life or later in life that there's an incredible amount of satisfaction and joy from making something with your own hands.
Yes.
And then when you're done, like, even if it's not the world's prettiest candle, it's your candle.
Well, you know,
that means something.
People often will make them and they'll give them as gift. And how often do you still receive a handmade gift from somebody?
Yeah.
Right? Unless it's your 4-year-old that just picked flowers for you and gave them to you, sort of thing, or drew you a picture, right? But it's, you know, receiving something like that, there's way more meaning behind it because they put so much effort into it. And we obviously customize the candles, right? They get to choose the scents that they want to work with. There's always, you know, at least 6 or 7 different options they get to choose from. And then I actually provide graphics for them that they can kind of dress up their candles as well, so they can add something to it that speaks to them, whether it's like a camping theme on there, just a positive message that says, like, strong is beautiful, or, thank you for being so wonderful. Whatever it is, like there's something on there that resonates with people, and they can add that to their candles, and, it either acts as a perfect gift for yourself or for someone else.
Have you ever heard from people that they end up getting so sentimentally attached to the candles that were either given to them as a gift or that they made, that they have trouble actually bringing themselves to light the wick and burn the candle?
Oh, I often have people that will just have the candle sit there.
Do you have any advice for those people to just say, like, how do you just
burn
say, like,
it? You can come get another one. Like
it's made for burning.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sometimes I think of that when I there's some candles you see in stores, and you probably have some here too. That there's such a beauty in the design of the candle that you're like, I don't know if I could ever light that on fire.
Burn it. Yeah,
right? Which is like
yep.
paradoxical when it comes to when you're buying something for the sake of burning it.
Yeah. But candles in general, there's so many different purposes for them, right? You can either have them for relaxation, so for instance, my lavender love candle is perfect for that, or my day at the spa, or you can have something that's more invigorating, like my glorious grapefruit or my raspberry vanilla. It's like, it's very vibrant and very fun. I have candles that are unscented as well too, and those are great, and we often like to give those out for people that are lighting a candle in memory of someone. So that way they're actually not attaching a scent to it, because especially when you're giving it as a gift, that might cause like some type of trigger for somebody if they smell it in a different way. But you want to just light that candle just to remember that person that has moved on from you.
We were talking about the tactile, like the connection to something that's just non-digital and tactile. And I went camping like 2 weekends ago, and like a lot of camping trips, you spend the good portion of the night gathered around a campfire, and there's something so primal of just staring into fire with people, where I think it must unlock like a deep like ancestral memory of like, you're in your safe space, you're with your tribe, you're near the the warmth, you're near the storytellers, you're with like the people, and there's something about just staring into a flame that it's more than just relaxing. It's just like, I don't know how to say it other than like it brings you like a deep peace.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. I mean, when you're sitting there, for instance, and maybe you want to light a candle while you're meditating, it just brings that extra focus into what you're doing, and it just adds that extra meaning to it. And when you look up, and like the first thing you see then is like that flame staring back at you and just dancing, and it's just like, it's just a neat experience, just because it really adds to the connection that you're building like within your mind.
Yeah, like LED candle technology has come pretty far, but I've still never seen one that holds a candle to an actual candle flame, right? Like that.
Yep.
So I guess we'd already kind of talked about the fact that this place feels much more than just a retail space. And did you always have that vision for it as a community hub? Or did that evolve, like, as once it became a physical space?
Well, originally, it's funny, because originally when I started making candles, I was selling them at craft and vendor shows. And I came across a lot of, like, local artisans that also had a lot of art that they were sharing at those shows as well. And I always thought to myself, it would be really cool if they were given a bigger platform to be able to do that on.
So is that how you connected with some of the artists that run other workshops here?
Well, especially like if it's something that I thought was really cool, because it's hard for me to promote something if I don't believe in it. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, if I'm going to put the effort into that, it's got to be something that I think is really beneficial and something that people are really going to connect to and really want to like come in and be part of and learn how to do it, sort of thing. So, there are actually a lot of things in the store that I just bring in so that people can purchase that are made by local vendors. For instance, we have the Thurston Honeybee, and they're from Guelph, so we offer their honey here. Cox Creek Winery, we have non-alcoholic wine here, right? So it's just like local businesses, just to be able to grab stuff that they make, and we're supporting them in that venture there. But yeah, just the idea that I was able to give, them a platform and just being able to offer that to the community, I think that was just so important. So originally the idea wasn't ever to open a store, but then I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I think that's actually my next step. I think that's where I'm going with this. So it was last year, maybe just before that, I reached out to Kendra and asked her about finding me a space. And we kind of looked at a few things. That would have been the fall of 2023. And then we touched base again at the beginning of 2024 and came across this space. And it was just perfect because it wasn't an overwhelming size. Coming in here is just like, it's the perfect way to start. And having it as a shared space with other female entrepreneurs, it's amazing to be able to connect with them and just be able to support each other, just knowing that like they're moms too. Like, you know what I mean? Like they kind of have the same home life as you. They're dealing with the same sort of thing. And like when you come in and maybe you're not having a great day because you didn't pack your kids the right lunch sort of thing, but they get it. And like, they're just there to support you. And you lift each other up and you just keep going. And it's so amazing to be around those people.
Yeah, that must be just like you said, the invigorating feeling that you get when you're doing work with like-minded people, even if they're doing something very different than what you're doing. It's just a shared headspace of forging a path, both on your own and also in like kind of arm in arm with other people.
Right.
So as someone who's built a handmade, heart-led business from the ground up, what have been some of the most rewarding moments so far for you? If that's an easy, that might be a big question.
You know what? It's probably bigger than I think it is, because there's just been so many variables that have had to come together to make this happen. Just my kids, for instance, when they finish school or it's Christmas time and they, get to make the candles that they're going to give their teachers, as a gift, they get so excited that they get to make that, and they're customizing it and they're so excited to give it to their teacher.
I think that's a good sign that your kids aren't sick of it yet,
Oh, no.
that they're not bored of making candles.
No, they always want to. They're always asking to light candles. They always want to like have something going. But just even when I was renovating this space, just thinking about like memories of just this coming together. Like my dad was so instrumental in like helping me with the renovations, and my cousin came in. Two of my cousins came in and like, worked on the flooring for me, or like tore down walls with me. Like, it's just so nice to have that family behind you that's there to support you. And I don't know, I haven't really had too much that I've had to work on big like this with my dad in so long. So when he came in to do this with me, he was here like every day, like patching a wall or cutting this or doing that. And he's so meticulous, but in the best possible way. He just wanted this to look so good for me. Yeah. And he was so awesome at like just being there for me through everything. And, just creating those memories of like saying that it was him that did it as opposed to me hiring just some type of like work or whatever. And he's very good at like, he's very good at being patient when he needs to be. He'll laugh at that. But like, just the fact that I can work with him, and he's taught me more than he even understands. Like he really has, like, I know how to patch a wall if I had to. I don't need to because I have my dad still, but I have done a few patches and like it haven't turned out too bad, but that's because he's taught me how to do them right. So, and actually even my oldest daughter, she helped me paint.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to say that I'm almost sure that your daughters would say the same thing about you, right? Where I
hope so.
Learned more
they probably won't think about it now. I mean, they're 7, 10, and 13, so they're young. But like, as a parent, you hope they get to the point where they look back and think, I got a cool mom. Like, she's and pretty awesome.
Unique childhood experience too. Like you kind of talked about what they get from helping out and working here. But in just a few years of running this place, I guess just said since September, you said, you've already connected like 3 generations of your family together in this space, all contributing.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And it's such a great feeling. Just because, when you're going to get into a venture like this, there's always going to be people that try to caution you and try to warn you and say, that's, you're going in over your head, or, I don't know what you're doing, but I hope it works out. And it's like, I never want to like cut anybody up. I don't want to put anybody down, and I'm not going to sit here and go, well, I proved you right. No, it's never anything like that. It's just, you use those as, to humble yourself.
Yeah.
You never want to think you're better than anybody because you did something that you just felt like you could do. No, it's, I'm working hard at this, and that's why this is working. It's not like I don't want to like, say that like I'm doing fantastic because I'm wonderful. No, I'm doing this because I'm working hard, and I'm showing my girls that what hard work looks like, and what comes of hard work.
And what happens when the rewards that you reap when you reach out to a wider community, like you said, when you bring in the other artisans and give them a space, when you let your family get connected to it, when like those are all just such key components.
Yeah.
And you're in a pretty lucky, I shouldn't say lucky, a well-chosen space as well, because you're like very close to downtown, but you're not really in the heart of downtown. So people who fear like trying to park downtown don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we have free parking here, which is wonderful, and not, it's not the worst to get into. But
you're close enough that, if people came in, like they could do, they could rent kayaks or canoes down by the river, and then like come here for a candle making workshop afterwards.
Yes.
And like you're near some of the biggest parks in the city, and just a walk from the university, a walk from downtown. Like you're kind of.
I'm in the heart of it, but and that's like if you look at that symbolically, like being part of Guelph, just being in the heart of it, it's a very wholesome feeling.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about like being part of Guelph and like why do I want to be here? Well, like I'm literally like in the core of it all too, which just it's literally it's symbolic, in that sense of it.
And it's okay if you don't have an answer to this question, but are there any like artisan shops that when you were putting this place together were sort of, they could be Guelph or they could be from elsewhere? Like, were there any shops that were like your inspiration or?
Oh,
like,
for
if
sure.
you were going to say like, if I could put together a place that could even mimic like a little bit of another place, or are there any of those ones that you want to?
Yeah, I had candles set up at, in different stores that, a few other ones that weren't quite in Guelph, that they sold other artisan products as well. So Rural Roots was one of them. They're just out in Rockwood. Next Time Around is in Cambridge. I had candles there. And there was quite a few other ones actually, but those were my primary ones. So I actually ended up pulling out of those stores as this store was coming together. I just didn't want to overwhelm myself with, being pulled in too many different directions. I wanted to be able to focus on this, but just looking at the way they were setting up, any questions that I had, Sarah from Rural Roots was fantastic at giving me recommendations for like my insurance, for instance. Dealing with Brad Barber has been like wonderful because he's just been so patient with me and walked me through, a 40-page insurance policy. And I'm going, Brad, there's just too much in here. Can you sum this up for me? Just things like that. But other local businesses that I know, like now that like I've started establishing myself, I have candles at their locations that they sell either like I've customized them for them, or they offer them to other people. So if I could just drop a few of those, like Fixed Gear Brewing has them, St. Louis Bar and Grill. I'm at the Bookshelf downtown Guelph here.
The Bookshelf is such an institution. It's come up on this podcast so many times. I've got to talk to them.
Yeah, I was so happy actually when they asked me, and it was funny because a bunch of them came and did workshops. Whether it was like the Turkish lamp workshop, or a couple of them did candle making, and that's how they heard about me, was they just signed up, and just connections afterwards. Decadently Yours has been phenomenal. Like Jen and Rob have been amazing at like just guiding me in the right direction for certain things, and they host candles for me there. Robinson's Flowers does too, like Cox Creek Winery. Like there's so many of them that have just been so supportive of what I'm doing, and they love my candles. So, they want to offer it to people too. And I thank them for that.
It seems like, and I've heard this echoed from a couple of people that I've talked to, that like Guelph businesses in Guelph rarely see themselves as in competition with each other. And it's very much like, hey, we can all help each other.
There's enough for everyone.
There's enough room for everyone.
Yes.
And it's like, making each other better just helps everyone,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and because I know that there's other, obviously, companies that are either local or wider than that, or you can just go to a Walmart and pick up a candle. But,
Yeah.
What sets me apart is probably that I make a candle that it can relate to people in so many different ways. It's not it doesn't have to be a luxurious candle. People come into the space and it's just very warm and inviting. Like my candles are also made with soy wax, as many other candles are, but it's done in a fun way, and it's done in a way that like anybody can enjoy them. I don't have like a certain demographic that I'm trying to gear towards. That's not the purpose of this. It's just whatever scent you're looking for whichever reason, like I said, whether it's relaxation or just invigorating. Or I have candles that smell like cinnamon buns, like, depends what mood you're in, sort of. You can light them and enjoy them, and there really is just something for everyone here.
And like to your point about why we choose the places we choose to buy things from, like I think the last couple of years, like the pandemic and especially like the situation with tariffs and stuff like that happening now are making people really realize like what is the important factors of when you spend your money. And obviously everyone's going to have to make decisions based off of their budget and what like makes sense for their household. But when you're buying things like, it's no longer the 19th century, 18th century. Candles are not like a mission critical part of like heating and lighting your home. So when you are indulging in luxury spending like this, I think more and more people are kind of deciding like, well, do I want my luxury dollars to just go to Amazon? Do I want them to just go to, like there's very cheap Temu websites and things like that you could get like a crate full of candles, probably very cheap.
Yeah, but they're not healthy for you either. That's the problem. Is that's why they're so cheap.
There's things like that of like what's corners that have been cut and things like that that you'll never know, and also just sending your money out of the community, out of community of Guelph, of Ontario, of Canada, of like North America even, and that doesn't mean that those people who are eventually getting those dollars are any like necessarily less deserving of it, but there is something to be said about an ecosystem that is supporting, like if you come in here and you spend money on candles, that money is circulating within the smaller world of the Guelph economy, right? Which I think there's some real value there. Yeah.
Very true, and I stand behind all of my candles. I wouldn't, and I can't. I never think of myself to be a salesperson. I actually never really liked a role like that. But here, I don't feel like I'm selling because these are things that I enjoy myself in my own home. I'm a very healthy person. Like I literally work out every day. I eat really well. I'm not going to burn a candle in my house that's going to cause any health problems. Like everything I use is all natural. So I mean, like if people will say, "Oh, I burnt these candles and there's black stuff on my walls." Well, remember that you can see that means you're breathing that in as well too, right? But when you're dealing with and you're burning soy wax candles and you're using natural oils for them, you're breathing in something that's not harmful to you. There's no chemicals. There's no junk in there that's, going to cause any harm to you.
Yeah, and there's also, like, as I was saying, as someone who enjoys campfires, I know intellectually campfires are, biologically speaking, probably not the healthiest thing to breathe in. However, like, I am fully willing to make that deal with the universe that, like, however way I'm shortening my life by getting to enjoy campfires and the smell of camp, like, that's a deal I'm willing to make. Well, and I don't think your candles are, like, shortening people's lives by any means, but, like, when you dig into, like, all of life is some sacrifice of, you're using things, you're enjoying a walk in the sunshine, like, that's, the radiation from the sun is harming you, but, like, is it harming you? Is it giving back to you more than it's taking away? Like, that's probably a better way to look at it. Like,
well, I do have a candle that actually smells like a campfire. It's called Cozy Campfire, so you might want to check that out before you leave.
I think I'll at least have to give it a smell at least for those weekends where if the camping trip gets canceled or rained out or something. Yeah. So Do you have any advice that you could offer other aspiring artists or, I guess, you
Yeah.
identify as an artist, but people
Yep.
who are in that entrepreneurial space in
Yeah.
Guelph or outside of Guelph who are looking to build something community-focused?
Do it with passion and do it with purpose. If it's something that you truly believe in and the intention of it is to bring joy to other people, it's going to bring joy to you, right? So when I, see somebody purchase a candle or come to a workshop and they're just so excited about it, that's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me and keeps me wanting to do this, because I've brought so much, like such a big smile to somebody's face, right? You don't always have to know how you're going to get there, but if you know where you want to go, you're going to be led in that right direction and you're going to find that path.
Yeah.
And you're going to get there.
It seems like this place fills your cup up a lot more than
Yeah.
it. Like, I can't imagine you have very many days of where you think about calling it quits and getting that,
I love
starting
this.
that commute back to Toronto again.
No, I'd never see my kids if that was the if
Do you
that
have
was
any
the case.
Toronto traffic smelling candles? Or?
I don't think anybody wants those. You don't want to remember that trip. Like that's not a joy.
Yeah. So looking ahead, do you have any hopes for the future of Strawberry Sunshine and your kind of wider role in the Guelph community?
I just want to be able to reach more people. Like I just want to just keep continuing to bring smiles to people's faces. My kids always say that, well, my oldest one is she'll work with me, but the other two, they're so funny because they're like, when I get bigger, I'm going to work at Strawberry Sunshine. And I love when they say that because they're so excited about it. And I just want to see them just continue to be part of something that brings them happiness too, that they're going to do something every day that doesn't feel like it's work to them. It's just fun. Yeah. And that to me is just like, it's very rewarding to see your kids do something that makes them happy as opposed to something that like they just need to do instead of that they want to do.
Life is full of grinds that you can't say no to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to be able to build a place for your family here.
Yeah.
That's kind of more than that.
Yeah.
And you've already been able to connect it to 3 generations of your family, and like who knows, one day you could be seeing it like passed off to a 4th generation or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they love coming in, especially like I've done workshops for kids over March break. I had 3 workshops for kids, and my kids were all part of them. And that was a great way to spend March break with them, right? But they got to enjoy those workshops with their friends and come down to the space and just be part of it and just be like, we're doing a workshop at my mom's store. And it's like, it's just cool to just, see them do that and come in and they're just smiling away and just absolutely love it. So
yeah, you can't really ask for better brand ambassadors than that, can you? Just unabashedly enthusiastic. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking to me today, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for coming in. I'm glad we finally figured out a date. This took a little bit, but it was worth it.
Yeah. There's always fun behind the scenes things.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Growing Guelph. I've been your host, Jordan Sloggett. Be sure to subscribe to us on social media, on your favorite podcast app, and if you have a recommendation for a future guest you'd like me to speak to, you can reach out to me at growingguelph@gmail.com.